Hello and welcome to Jamaica Live. This is your news update with me, Adara, and I have my topics for today. I hope you were able to see the topics I posted earlier on, but in case you were not, I'm going to run them down. And I'm just going to take them one by one so we can dive right into the topics. It's a wonderful TGIF, but news does not stop, and the things we need to talk about do not stop happening. For our Jamaican news, recently, this month, more than 30 Dons reached out to the stakeholders looking to develop the beachfront areas of downtown Kingston, saying that they want in on the development set to happen in that area. Now, many of the members of the Urban Development Corporation expressed that they have no interest in hugging up with Dons that are in charge of basically gangs that commit a lot of violence in Kingston and many parts of Jamaica. Now, my question on this topic is, what possibly could they be offering into this development? Now, these are people that have criminal past. These are people that are living a criminal life, but they want to add to the development. They want to be part of the development. The good that people are bringing to Kingston, they want to bring their bad into it. Is there something else that they want to do? I'm not sure I understand exactly how they intend. Of course, I believe their angle is in form of protection and, overseeing, making sure no other criminals come around them. But unless they're ready to lay down their guns, I don't believe they should be allowed to get into this development that would be such a bright movement forward for the whole of Jamaica. I don't think anyone should be interested in working with Dons that have refused to lay down their guns. I think what they should be talking about is how they want to end crime and develop the youth that they have previously misled and led into so much gang violence and criminal activity. That should be the first thing that they want to talk about, rather than involving themselves in profitable development, because of course this is exactly what it is. It seems these 30 or more than 30 Dons have thought and weighed the options of how profitable this sort of development would be, especially in a place like Kingston, and they're looking to involve themselves in that. Of course, people of Jamaica know about the gang turf wars, and it's safe to say that they're saying, well, since this is good for the good of the entire community, they don't intend to have a turf war over this development. But it seems they feel a sense of entitlement that since they're allowing this to happen in their area, they should now have a stake in that. And I would love to hear from a Jamaican to shed more on this topic. I really want to understand what angle these Dons may be coming from and what angle exactly the members of the Urban Development Corporation will be coming from by not being willing to partner with these Dons in their development projects. That's our first topic for this evening. Now, my second topic for this evening, I move over to Nigeria, where currently they are in struggle over what they are now calling Minor Gate. Now, Abdul Rashid Minor was the head of the presidential Committee on Tax Reform. He was appointed that in early 2013. In early 2012, and by 2013, he was dismissed following accusations of massive pension fraud, which amounted to more than 100 billion naira. I think that should be around $10 million. Now, he sued the Senate. He sued the Senate for that issue after they issued a warrant against him, and he was fired by the head of service for allegedly absconding from duty and attempting to evade arrest, and he was charged to court. All of a sudden, recently, reports have emerged that this same person that was charged to court, evaded arrest, and accused of many things was returned to Nigeria, had returned to Nigeria, and was actually reinstated by this government, and interestingly enough, promoted. Now, where it gets tricky and where the mess is going about is some reports claim that the presidency did not know about his reinstatement or had no understanding of this event whatsoever. Now, the president he ordered his immediate resignation from the office and also questioned the current head of service about his reinstatement, who claimed that she had no idea about this. Now, it seems people on not part of the presidency reinstated him, or that's what they would have us believe. The senior special assistant advisor on media and publicity came out to say that it's actually the blame of the last administration, those that were loyal to the last president, that have reinstated him under this government. And I'm wondering if it's possible that a president that hasn't been in power for over 3 years could command so much power in this government now and reinstate somebody that he previously accepted a recommendation to fire. So what is democracy going on? What democracy is going on in Nigeria currently? And why are the people not even more upset than they currently are about this? This is basically a flaunting of the democratic laws of the land and the constitutional laws. And it begs so much to say, considering that our vice president is actually a lawyer and he's sitting around and allowing these things happen. How is it possible that 4 other people are the ones that were able to reinstate this alleged criminal into office, and the president had no idea? Now, this is the second time that an issue of this gravity is happening. Last month, the issue was with the $23 billion NNPC contract fraud that they said that the junior minister of NNPC claimed was missing, and accused the general managing director of NNPC of insubordination and awarding contracts without getting his permission, and the presidency saying that, so the GMD said that he had the presidency's approval and the presidency denied this. So there seems to be all these sort of lies going on in the presidency, and the citizens are not taking a stand. I believe at this point, when a democracy is turning into a DemoCRAZY, and they're going all over the place on the news, telling all sorts of lies, releasing all sorts of propaganda that clearly are not in accordance with the law. The people need to come out and say, no, we are not going to take this any longer. This is not a democracy. If you want to be corrupt, if you want to be fraudulent, if you want to do those other things that we cannot immediately prove, okay, we've been working on that, but this that is clearly, very clearly, if anybody can get a copy of the Nigerian Constitution and open and see that none of the things that they are doing are in accordance to the law. Why are the people of Nigeria not more angry about this? And these are some of the things I want to discuss today. What do you believe the Nigerian people should do? How do you believe they can express their discontent and their unhappiness with these issues going on? It's just become a bunch of he said, she said, he didn't say, I didn't say, oh, I didn't say that. Blatant lies in the Nigerian media by a whole presidency. Is that what democracy is all about? Is that what the founding fathers fought for us to get to at this point? This is 2017, 50 something years after independence, and how many years of basically 17, 18 years of democracy, and we still aren't getting it right, to the point that we're actually regressing in the democracy. I feel that 1999 saw a better upholding of the so-called democracy than we are now, and you would think that Nigerians should be more exposed and should have a better understanding of a democracy. Or could it be that they are not interested in knowing? Are they really that ignorant that they're not paying attention to exactly what government means? They are just living, to them. Could it be to them there's no difference between the military rule? Could it be there is no difference between the military rule and a democracy? Their only issue is how exactly they live, and they're not bothered about anything. I want to know what your opinion is on this Minagate scandal and the current situation of democracy in Nigeria. It's such an aberration, and it's really worrisome that politicians believe they can go on like this without any repercussions. My third issue is bringing us back to, my third topic is bringing us back to what is going on currently in the United States. Now, for those that are not aware, let me brush you up. It started with Colin Kaepernick. He knelt down during the national anthem at one of his games as a sign of protesting the brutality against Black Americans by the police. If you follow the news, you would know that there have been many incidents in recent years of how police have been seen killing and members of the community who happen to be Black that get stopped for usually minor incidents. Unfortunately, they escalate to large incidents, and Colin Kaepernick decided that it was officially time for him to use his platform and his status to make a statement that can be heard, so more attention can be drawn to this issue and it could be better handled and discussed in public spaces. So what he decided to do was to kneel down for the national anthem. Now many people said that what does the national anthem have to do with protesting police brutality? There have been many reports, and if you read the American national anthem yourself, there is a particular line that is pretty derogative towards Black people. It mentions slaves. The American national anthem till this day still mentions slaves, which can be pretty offensive, no matter how you look at it. So Colin Kaepernick decided to kneel down for it. Many other Black players decided not to. This has been going on for a while, and currently now more and more players are kneeling down for the national anthem to show support for Colin Kaepernick, especially since he is no more working in the NFL. He actually brought up a case against the NFL, saying that they were refusing to hire him. Different clubs, teams were refusing to hire him. And that brings us to my third topic. Last week in an NFL owners meeting, the owner, McNair of the Houston Texans, was referring to this kneeling down issue, which is an issue because he is a Trump supporter. He has donated millions to the Trump campaign. He referred to the kneeling down issue warning. It doesn't need much explanation. Obviously, he is not in support of those kneeling down, and he's referring to them and their colleagues as inmates and himself as the owner of the team as a prison warden or a prison owner or someone imprisoning inmates. And it begs the question that these racial slips that these prominent men of power who just happen to be white drop in public spaces, how reflective is it of the way this NFL owner sees his NFL players? And for him to be comfortable to say it in an NFL owners meeting is reflective of how they all see the players that play for the teams they own. So that means they see them not as colleagues or people that are making them a whole lot of money, but people that they are doing a favor. And of course, there have been reports of President Trump actually coming out to say that players that have been suspended that have been kneeling down should be suspended. And it begs a lot to whether, if you're a player in the NFL, do you now not have rights simply because you do not agree with the politics of the owner? Of your team? And what do these slips mean? How racially biased could the NFL really be? And now we know for a fact that majority of the NFL team owners are white men, and majority of those that play for these teams are black men. So a lot of black activists have reportedly referred to the owner-player relationship as a master-slave relationship. So could this possibly be true? Is this the way the owners actually see these NFL players for him to make a slip? Now, in that meeting, there was a former NFL player who stood up and expressed that he was quite offended by that. According to reports of people that were there at the meeting, they did say that this former NFL player, who is now on the board of the NFL, McNair, took him aside and apologized, explaining he didn't mean it that way. But I believe when something slips out of your mouth in the middle of an important meeting, you most definitely meant it the way you said it, because we all, especially adults, I believe at this point, form thoughts in our minds before we say them. So obviously he formed this phrase, he formed this sentence in his head and let it slip before his mind indicators could remind him that, oh, there's a such thing as being politically correct. There are many tensions going on in the world, in the US especially, over racial tensions, and this was unacceptable. This is not something you want on record saying, but obviously none of his indicators went off when he said this. And I'm really curious to see the clip. I would love to see the clip of this meeting to see how exactly he went about saying it, whether he noticed immediately or realized immediately how bad what he said was, or whether he went on talking until somebody called him back and said, hey, this is what you said. And it's really such a shame. Now, my question for you watching today is whether you believe, first of all, if you believe in the NFL players kneeling down, are they allowed to kneel down during the national anthem at these games? Is it representative of the protest? Does it really make a mark? Is it really a way to show their solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and with the police brutality against members of the Black community? Does it help? Number one. Number two, are they allowed to? Is there any ground on which it's not moral, which is not right? I would really love to rub minds and understand with you how you feel about this issue, because to me, I believe it's an incredible thing if at least half of the Black players of the NFL can make a stand to get to whatever power would motivate a change in this issue. I believe they should do everything within their power, even if it means pissing off their owners. Personally, I would not want to work for a person that does not believe I have a right to protest any way I like. Okay, but that's my personal point of view. I would also love to hear other points of views. If you believe it is disrespectful, many people have said it's disrespectful to service members, people that served in the army, to kneel down during the national anthem. But I'm sorry, I don't see it. I see people using their platform, using their status, using their stardom, their fame to make a difference, to have a voice, to make a voice for the voiceless, and to have this put on the front pages the way it should be, so it can be properly addressed and dealt with accordingly. And my last topic for today is more entertaining, less serious than the Houston Texan issue. Now, according to reports, Tamar Braxton may be divorcing her husband. Now, this is coming right before the premiere of their new show, Tamar and Vince. According to the teaser release for the show, it does come with them having heavy, serious arguments, and invested in watching to see if the end actually does lead up to this proposed divorce. However, I'm wondering if this could be another publicity stunt. And now, some time ago, T.I. and Tiny, before the beginning of their reinstatement of the Family Hustle, T.I. and Tiny, of their show T.I. and Tiny, they did drop reports that they were getting a divorce. It's been months after, and that divorce has not happened. Now, although I'm very pleased, because I'm a big fan of T.I. and Tiny together, I'm very pleased not to have to hear about another divorce, especially for a beautiful Black couple. It does bring to mind the question as to whether Hollywood stars fake their own divorces for ratings as a publicity stunt. Now, is that something that people should do? Do we believe that Tamar Braxton's divorce from her husband that we know she loves so much? If you are a fan of Tamar Braxton, or you remember her from The Real, you would know that she's very fond of her husband and spoke of him all the time. In the show that they all the Braxtons have together, she's constantly talking about her husband. They've been married 9 years, and they dated for a long time as well. Could it be possible that arguments that were now filmed really led up to their divorce, or could this be another publicity stunt? And my question is, what is the morality in creating this type of publicity stunt when it has to do with your life? Now, they have a kid, they have a 4-year-old child, and I wonder whether it will endanger him. Of course, he's only 4 years old, so possibly it he may not be able to comprehend the gravity of the situation completely immediately until his parents sit him down and explain it to him. But for older children, like the children that T.I. and Tiny have, what effect would this have when there are reports and rumors going on that their parents want to get a divorce, and then months later it does not happen? Would it incite a kind of fear in them that, oh my God, my parents may leave each other and they don't know what day is going to be the last of them as a happy family? Is it worth it to bring up your personal life to the limelight and kind of endanger it for the promise of ratings? Is it really worth it? I personally would not. I don't think it would. I would using my family life, especially something as sacred as marriage that I do want to last forever, and because the ratings, just file divorce papers so tabloids can find it and publicize it and have everybody tune in for my show that's premiering next Friday or something. I don't believe it's worth it, but I would also love to know what what you have to say. So we have one comment, and that is about the NFL players kneeling down. This is from Nina, and she says, interesting topics. The Jehovah's Witness do not even get involved in the national anthem, and the Amish community, I believe, don't know the national anthem exists. Is anybody going after them for disobedience? Now, this is a very, very good point. Could it be that they're exempted for religious reasons? Now, if the NFL players cited religious reasons because, well, in fact, they are Black and they're human beings and they do not like police brutality, would that be enough for all the naysayers to allow them do what they're doing? This is a very, very interesting point. Thank you, Nina, for tuning in, and thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention and bringing this up. This is an interesting angle to it, and it says a lot about what is going on in this country, and it says a lot about the injustice that is being meted out to people of color in this country. When there were riots in the country a couple of months ago, some white nationalists held a protest and it got pretty violent, and police were not even on ground. Many people were even injured, and it seemed not to be a big deal. And even the president was noted as saying that they were good people on both sides, but these are people that have committed and have come out to say that they are an organization based on hatred. Unlike Black Lives Matter, that protest on the basis of please don't kill my fellow brother just simply because we are the same color. Please do not kill us. Please take care of us, you know. And Black Lives Matter protests tend to be filled with people of all races and ethnicities. Nobody's exempted, because there are people that also agree that there are people that also agree that Black lives should matter, and there is a discrepancy in the way that people are treated, and Black people are treated, and people of color are treated. Now, Nina also asks, are the Amish community listed in the Constitution for exempt? I would like to know. Well, it's something that I would have to look into. If there are any lawyers that are tuning in with us, I would love to know what you have to say. Are the Amish community listed in the Constitution for exemption? That's something that is really according to law, and I don't know if the Constitution can actually exempt people from pledging to or from respecting the national anthem. I wonder if there are constitutionally, are there even any legal limitations, like legal obligations to the national anthem? Now, there was an issue in a small town in a high school, where a student decided to sit for the Pledge of Allegiance, and a lawyer responded to the case saying that actually the student was suing the principal for this suspension, because there is a law that says that there is no requirement for students to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So that much I can say. I would have to check and get back to you to let if the Amish community is exempted, and that would be something interesting, especially for this debate going on here in the U.S. Talking about whether arguing that the NFL players have no right to kneel down during the national anthem. Thank you so much for your comment, Nina. This is good. We are getting contributors joining, so I've pinned it up there. You can always tune in now to join the conversation. Remember, that's the number on your screen right here. Feel free to WhatsApp me. I got the phone right here. Send me a message. I will read it out. If you also call me, definitely I would read that out, and I would have that on, and you can join the conversation and talk to me, share into what we're doing today. I really appreciate the input. So I'm going to go over my topics once again. Remember this is the number to call, comment. If you don't want to call, leave a comment on my screen. I will pin it up. You can see your face up there and bright, and we can talk, discuss, and rub minds on this situation. Now, the news update for this evening. Dons in Jamaica want in. Now, this month, more than 30 Dons reached out to stakeholders looking to develop the beachfront areas in downtown Kingston, saying that they wanted to be part of the developmental projects going on there. They wanted to have a stay. They wanted to have a stake. They want to be involved. They want to be invited into the meetings for these developmental projects. And of course, members of the Urban Development Corporation expressed they have no interest in hugging up with Dons, because basically these are the Dons of violent gangs that have been terrorizing Jamaican communities. So my question is, what possibly do they believe they hope to bring to the table? Is it protection? Excuse me. Is it protection? Is it more guns to an area that they're trying to develop to no longer resemble a slum? Do they want to bring violence back into it? What exactly could it be? What exactly is their thinking? I'm trying to wrap my head around what angle they're coming from on this. Is it that, oh well, we're not going to have a turf war over the development. We're just going to let you guys. We're just going to let you, because of course they're done, go in there and do what you need to do. But since we let you, we should have a say in these development projects. And I find it quite interesting. Are they willing to lay down their guns and call off their gang members, like rehabilitate them into society and turn them away from the violent lives that they've been living so far, so that they can be a part of these development projects in downtown Kingston? It's interesting to note. Now, my question for today is, would you would you want to see a partnership of dons and development stakeholders in downtown Kingston? Can anything good come of such a partnership? Is it possible that these people can work together and bring about the needed change in that area? Is that something that you as Jamaicans would be open to? Is that something you as Jamaicans would like to see? Is that something possible? Do Jamaicans believe it's possible that these dons can work with the stakeholders seeking to develop downtown Kingston and good can come of it? That's what I want to know. Can good come of this sort of partnership? Now, my next topic is the minor gate, and Nina has just actually commented on this. Nina says Nigeria must really be practicing DemoCRAZY. And I'm getting a call. Says Nigeria must really be practicing DemoCRAZY.
Hi, Dora.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I want to discuss about the gangs in Jamaica.
Okay, wonderful. Please tell me what you know. Share with me.
Yeah, I actually think it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest, because from the reports, it did not say they come with any positive agenda. It just said gangs want in. So the reports didn't say if they come and say, okay, we're going to put on our guns, we're going to make sure that the place is, there's no crime, the place is free of crime and violence and robberies and killings. So is it like ridiculous, actually? That's kind of my thought process on this.
That's interesting. So let me ask you, is there any way you believe a partnership between these dons and those working on the development in downtown Kingston can work?
Okay, so let me say this. Gangs, unfortunately, has always been a part of the political system in Jamaica. That's how it's always been. So I can see why the Dons feel as if they have the privilege or the right to ask for this, to want in of this project. However, with the present system that I'm seeing right now with this new prime minister, it doesn't seem as if that's what he's doing. If the Dons want to be part of this system, I would say they need to put down their guns, number one, and make some form of agreement that there's going to be peace, no robberies, no crimes. They are going to work with the police and the government to make this whole place a success. I know it's kind of hard for anybody to pose, like, why would government work with Don? Just kill all of them. And, you know, in part, I think if the government know there's Dons there, then they should be locked up, basically. That's kind of like, yeah, if the government know there's Dons killing people and know where they are, and the Dons are contacting the government should go and get the Dons. That's the kind of right thing to do. However, in the scheme of things, of how intricate the government, the political system and these gangs are, and how the kind of structure with the gangs and the people, and the gangs are connected to the people in the community. If the gangs, as I said, decide, okay, we're gonna bring in our guns, call a truce, we are going to make sure we're going to use our leadership skills as young men or young women, and make sure the development of downtown Kingston become a success where people are not being murdered, robbed, people are afraid to go down there. So it could work if they've decided to bring in their guns and work with the police, and it could, but I mean, they have to come with something on the table. If they're going to come and say, oh, we want in, I mean, then government should take, I would say, drastic action against them. That's kind of what I think.
Okay. I want to ask a question. Where do you Dons actually get guns from? Because I know that no weaponry is manufactured in Jamaica. So how is the government customs fighting this to the point that they still allow them get shipments of weapons from wherever?
Well, I think I saw recently that there were some guns. The custom enforcement caught some guns in barrels or some stuff like that. So I think a lot of the guns are coming in rightly through the ports and everything, and the customs definitely need to be more vigilant in that regards. And all the sea around the borders, in the waters to Haiti, and coming in from the United. I mean, let's face it, all guns are coming from the United States. Okay. That's a fact, because the guns, as I said, they are not manufactured in Jamaica. So United States is this is where they're coming from. So the government must do more to control the borders, and the custom enforcement agents must do more in regards to making sure those guns do not come in. I know it's a difficult process, but the government has to do more. They have to spend more money and manpower in regards to making sure that the guns keep out of Jamaica. So I think they're coming in from the borders and stuff. So yeah, I think government should really do something about that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Would you like to contribute to any of the other topics I am talking about today?
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, please tune in again. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye, yeah.
That was able to shed some more light on this issue. So obviously these Dons do not have anything to offer. They're just thinking that they're entitled to whatever projects the government is setting up because of the long history of the political association with most of these gangs back in the day. Now, even though currently this current administration has managed to put a curb on that, it seems that possibly the gangs and the head of these gangs are feeling quite left out from the fun and games, meaning corruption and amongst other things that they were previously involved in, as well as the violence. Unfortunately, this development in downtown Kingston is a new, fresh development, and I do not believe they would be willing to bring in things of the past into this area that they're trying to create freshly. And that says a lot about the thinking of the gangs. I believe if they've reached out, like our caller rightly say, if they reached out, the government should focus more on finding them rather than even considering their outrageous requests. And that's for that issue. Okay, before our call, I was moving on to our Nigerian topic, and of course, our first contributor for today, Nina, had dropped a comment where she said Nigeria must really be practicing a democracy as against a democracy, because there has been too many viral stories coming from out there in recent times. And this is really true. This certainly has been true. If you've been following the Nigerian story, you would know that earlier this year the president was away for more than 90 days. Now, according to the Constitution, the president is allowed to be on leave for exactly 90 days, but he extended that. Now, many of his team argued that he was sick. And when many people came to ask, well, the president or the presidency should tell the citizens what sickness the president has and what the nature of his illness is and how long we expect him to be gone for. Some other members of his cabinet came out to respond and said that it is none of the business. It's no business of citizens what ails the president. Now, there was a big argument as to whether his sickness was his private life as a president or public information. Now, if it kept him out of the country more than the constitutionally allowed number of days, then I do believe it now becomes an issue of the citizen, especially since his office is a public office and he is supposed to be a public servant. So there have been many shady stories coming out of Nigeria, and it begs the question of how far they want their democracy to go. Now, I personally am a Nigerian, and this hits home for me because I know how much it is holding Nigeria back from developing to be that giant of Africa that we were once prophesied to be. Currently, Nigeria is living on past glory, on former glory. If you're familiar with the Nigeria story, they're one of the strongest country. They're basically the strongest country in West Africa, and in the past they headed ECOMOG, which are the West African states peacekeeping mission. They headed those peacekeeping missions in Sierra Leone and many of the other war-torn areas of the West African region. Unfortunately, that past glory is now very darkly shaded by their current mishaps. You can't have a government that came in on the promise of delivering change to a people. They promised to change the economy. They promised to lift poverty. But it seems that since this current administration went into power, things have only changed for the worse. And they campaigned a lot on integrity and honesty and positivity. Unfortunately, we're just seeing of what we've seen since 9 on a much larger and on a much more I want to say they've thrown caution to the wind. Previous administrations have still managed to try to cover up their shady dealings and their shady businesses by at least trying to follow due process and follow the rule of law. But this administration is not even bothered if you can constitutionally prove that they're doing things wrong. They just come up onto the media and say that it's a lie, when it can clearly be proven that it is. And question, where is the democracy in Nigeria heading? And what are the people doing, especially the young people of the country? Are they really tough now? I can speak firsthand of how the youths basically have on power, and it does stem from African culture where the elders do not want young people to speak unless spoken to, and they do get slightly offended if a younger person even raises their voice in their presence. Now, this has made a kind of docile youth group in Nigeria, especially amongst most Africans. Although in other African countries, you see that they're more lenient. In Nigeria, it seems they're more docile and they're more ready and willing. They want to just follow the ball, has into so many bad situations in the past, and it makes me wonder whether they are thinking about their future. Now, my generation is the millennial generation, which in 10 years should be at the helm of power, and the current leaders that we have now are of a generation that has led before. If you go through the cabinet of the current administration, you will see many of them served in the military government of many other past presidents. So it's basically like a recycling. In fact, the president himself ruled for 20 months in which he did not do such a good job. He took over in a bloody military coup and was thrown into prison after his 20 months. He threw the nation into a state of disarray, although he came in on that same premise of dignity and fighting corruption. But alas, at this point, no corruption is being fought. If not, corruption is being upheld as the rule of day. It seems that corruption in Nigeria is now becoming a right and obligation, and is being touted, and none of his media personnel want to speak honestly. And it's such a shame, considering that these are journalists who are supposed to be upholders, supposed to be watchdogs of the three arms of government and upholding the laws of the land, upholding right information. You would think that journalists would know how to properly address the truth and disseminate truthful, factual information. Unfortunately, they do not. The minister of information actually has a name that rhymes with liar, and now permanently calling him a liar because everything he says is clearly a lie. And these are not things that law students or lawyers or the country need to go through big textbooks to prove. The average Nigerian can take information, credible information, and compare it to what this Minister of Information is saying and clearly point it out as a lie. And these people are not ashamed. They're not afraid. They're not bothered by it at all. And it worries me, especially as a Nigerian, as an African. I wonder where we fought, so our founding fathers fought so hard to free us from those shackles of colonialism because we claimed that we could do this by ourselves. And it seems in 2017 that we are regressing to the point I've actually seen reports where people have made a case for recolonization of Nigeria and many other African states. Is that even fathomable? Like, what are these African leaders pushing us to, for us to even consider such a thing? And why are the people not expressing their anger more? Now, I believe the people don't understand how much power they actually control. I can speak for Nigeria, where I know that these politicians, now they have lackeys, they have groupies, they have entourage, they have people that follow them around. If even just the driver of this car says, hey, I know for a fact that you are stealing money because I sit around here and see you pack money into this car. I'm not going to drive you any longer. I'm going to take a stand and do this and say that, no, I refuse to take any part of this. Then maybe things can begin to change. If people accepting jobs in a government, in an administration that is doing horrible things and telling blatant, then it can show them, if these politicians no longer see people to control in their abject touting of the rule of law, then they would know that things are catching up with them and they're in trouble. It's because they no longer feel threatened. They feel no threat whatsoever, which is why they believe parting money away. The president's cabinet have come under fire, have even been removed their positions or positions, and they've not done anything about it to prepare. And nothing has happened months after these reports have come about. And it's like, why would you telling us, promising us that you are going to fight corruption, and corruption is put on your table, file is developed, is created for you to do something about it. Show us exactly what you campaigned about. You have this opportunity to do not. Nigeria's democracy is clearly turning into a democracy, and I would like Nigerians of any age drop what they're doing and face this issue. Okay, weak people do not bring about any change. For example, in Jamaica, in fact, in Jamaica, Marcus Garvey was the one that developed the Pan-African thought. Now, if you're not familiar, it's the thought that every Black person in the world, no matter where they are, is a descendant of Africa. I do not know if you believe, but I personally believe this. We're all descendants of Africa. We all belong to the motherland, and therefore, wherever we are, we should all be upholding the interest of one another. Whether you're from Jamaica, whether you're from Nigeria, whether you're a Black American, African American, you are African. We should all hold each other's interests and fight for each other's interests wherever we are. Now, Marcus Garvey developed this, and he died in 1950, but in 1956 there was a Pan-African conference where members where Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was of Ghana, attended them. Africanism that gave them the confidence to go back to their countries and start the fight for independence. Now, if a Jamaican could create an idea that pushed and actually allowed Ghana get independence in 1956 and Nigeria in 1960, how can we not know now to do it for ourselves, especially with the amount of information that's going. We have why just as this them crumb, whatever is tinier than a crumb, that we accept it. Have the gangs go, they can be bettering their lives and fighting corruption. I believe the gang should passion that fire in the for politicians and promise to do something but do the opposite. That's what you should focus, not on violence, not on terrorizing your own communities, not on killing your own brother, but on helping your people to reach the next level, to succeed, to elevate out of poverty. How long are we going to be talking about bad leaders? How long are we going to poverty when the ones that hold the key about it? Now, this brings me to the United States issue of this police where whole NFL team owner could actually speak about players kneeling down and refer to it as, we can't have inmates running the prison. what does that mean? You know, what is that a show of? Is that how he really sees the people that work on his teams? Because this is hard work that respectful Black men and many other people are doing. Is it because it's just a Black man that started this wave? Is that why he sees them as inmates? You know, a lot of times these these rich, powerful white men have these racial slips, and they apologize afterwards. But I believe it's so reflective of how they really think, because these ideas are formed in their mind. Nothing is going to slip out of your mouth that you have not thought and processed and even said before. Nothing slips out just ran. You have to have been thinking about it. You have to feel it for it to be a slip of tongue. And he did issue an apology, and even issued an apology to someone in the room that was an NFL player before. But is that enough? Do you believe? I believe that a bigger stand needs to be taken. If he can have this slip of mouth, more people can kneel down and protest how Black people are being treated in the United States of America. I believe there comes a time when these things need to change. These things need to end. Enough has to be enough at some point. And this is how I feel. So, whatever anybody's opinion is of NFL players kneeling down, it's definitely necessary because it's bringing enough light to this situation. And that's where I'm going to end for this evening session of Jamaica, your news update on Jamaica Live. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 5 p.m., 4 p.m. Jamaican time, 10 p.m. Nigerian time. I will be here to give you your news, and I will be waiting to discuss with you. Thank you very much to my contributors today. Thank you for my caller, and of course, it made the conversation very interesting. Thank you, and have a good evening.